War was over. They had printed a ton of money in the North to help fund the war, which devalued the dollar. And so it was an economic crisis. And so Congress passed a bill. Basically, if I remember right, it was an overnight. You traded in so much of the non-valuable money for money that was backed by silver and gold. And it stabilized everything. But again, it's going to be a long-term process to get there.
Barry, have you read Mark Levin's book?
The Liberty Amendments? Yeah, I haven't completed the entire book. I got so fascinated with some of the, I mean, I've been an advocate for balanced budget amendment and repealing of the 17th Amendment for years. But when I got to the part about the judiciary, I went back and read it 3 times. I'm intrigued by that, because that's actually, when you read the grievances in the Declaration of Independence, the one thing that the founders feared was the power that the judicial branch could obtain. And so, yes, sir.
Yeah, my question, I guess, what is your take on this? As we approach, the 2016 elections, there's been talk of the Tea Party and the Republican Party, and causing a fraction when we get to a point of election. What's your take on that?
It's going to happen. It's either that or somebody's going to have to give. It really comes down to principle. I was asked this the other day. Somebody came up and he said, I really love what you stand for, and it's just a shame that you have to run as a Republican. And I said, actually, I run on the Republican platform. He said, I like that. If you go read our platform, it's a very conservative, pro-liberty platform. But you have a segment of the Republican Party who wants to ignore that. Let's boil it down to what it is. And I've been a Republican all my life. Chairman of this Republican Party years ago. I'm still going to be a Republican, but I'm going to fight to get back to the basic principles and the ideas of our party. And we've seen this problem in the state. We've seen this same problem at the federal level. That the Republican Party, when they get in power, their main focus is to stay in power. And we never do anything with the power. And so we start, which way is the wind blowing? Should we shut the government down? Oh, that could hurt us in an election. Forgetting that what we're fighting about, the cause was to stop the greatest threat to our liberty and our economy that's ever faced this nation, called Obamacare. That was the cause, to stop Obamacare. We had the ability to stop it if we had the fortitude to see it through. But we put our finger in the wind and said, oh, well, back a few years ago when the government shut down, people really got upset with the Republicans. Obamacare passed. Now keep this in mind. When Obamacare was proposed, if you remember, Hillary Clinton tried to do this, and they saw they weren't going anywhere. Obama and the Democrats had their eyes on a cause. The overwhelming majority of the people opposed Obamacare. The majority of the people in 49 of the 50 states overwhelmingly opposed Obamacare. 50 of the 50 legislatures opposed Obamacare because they knew exactly what it was going to do to their states and their budgets. Almost every governor opposed Obamacare. And it passed. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi and Democrats were willing to sacrifice their positions and power for a cause. Republicans aren't willing to do that. We're too interested in staying in power. But look what happened. They got a historical, earth-shattering, nation-destroying piece of legislation that threatens the future and the security of all of our children, and it was a great victory to them because that's not what they care about. They care about centralizing power. They care about controlling the populace, and they were willing to sacrifice their positions to do it. Until we have people that are willing to be maybe 1 or 2 term congressmen, or give up a position of power for a greater cause, we're still going to fight the same battle. And Republicans are going to have to, it may take what most of the people that I talk to in this are saying, there's a great bloodletting coming in the Republican Party. But there's concern over the gubernatorial election coming up. And I tell you what, Jason Carter, who's running for governor, is very smart. He's very articulate. I know him well. I've served with him in the Senate. And he's a good guy. But his values are totally different from ours that's sitting in this room. And so we can't sit and say, hey, we're a red state, because we're turning purple. And that red-blue shift, it's about party, it's not about principle. So we rated on party. But there's a lot of folks that consider themselves Democrat that I know, that when you sit down and you go through item by item by item, they will agree with you almost every part of it. And you say, you know what I just read to you? I read to you the Republican Party platform. And you know what they respond? Well, if you guys did what you said in there, I'd be a Republican.
That's the truth, but we don't.
But we don't. But what we're looking at doing is now the big tent picture. So what are we looking at doing? Well, we need to change our platform. Well, then you become like the other guys. So what good is it to have a bigger tent if you're just like the other side? The thing is, stand for what you stand for, articulate it well, and get your eye on your cause and be willing to sacrifice for the cause. But we're not willing to do that yet. That's where I think getting to what you're talking about, the Tea Party movement is causing that fracture, but it has to happen. I don't like it, but I think it's going to have to happen at some point. I sat in a room with a guy not too long ago who basically, he was ready to support me in my campaign. He was going to write me a big check. Got down to one thing. He wanted to know, did I think that the Tea Party was destroying the Republican Party? And specifically, he said people like Ted Cruz. Now, he gave me the answer he wanted to hear before he asked the question. And I said, no, I don't. He said, why not? I said, because I'm involved in the party. I see that Ted Cruz has brought some inspiration and has awakened some people who thought it was all over with, and they found somebody who was willing to stand up and fight. Even if the cause looked like it was lost, he was willing to stand up and make a stand. And here's the thing that upsets people about Ted Cruz. He put his principles, he put his constituents above his party. But that's what we tell everybody we want. And he was willing to do that. I heard on the news today, a poll just came out. Who are the 3 most influential people in the world? The Pope, the President of the United States, and Ted Cruz.
Wow, that's all.
This was a worldwide poll. He's willing to sacrifice.
They put the precedent. I'm president?
Yep.
Oh.
They're influential. They didn't say for good or bad, but most influential.
We have to let
Okay,
David
well, I appreciate the time, and God bless you. Thanks for all that you do, and I'm sure we'll be hanging around if anybody has any other questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.